Princess Chidera, my name is Obinna and I am here to ask for your hand in marriage.
What? I can never marry a poor wretch like you. Don't you have respect for class and royalty? Get out immediately.
Leave me alone. Where is my shirt? Is it a crime to be poor? Princess Chidera will be back as a billionaire. I promise you that. Obinna, why did you went into that party just to embarrass yourself like that? Don't you know that there is a huge gap between wealth and poverty? Do not worry, my good friend. Princess Chidera just made me realize that I'm destined for greatness and I will go and come back as a billionaire. Mark my words.
Obinna, I am really sorry for underestimating and humiliating you in front of everyone 5 years ago. It was pride and arrogance that took over my life due to my family background. To a beautiful night with wonderful friends.
And to many more.
What? I can never marry a poor wretch like you. Don't you have respect for class and royalty? Get out immediately.
In the luxurious streets of Banana Island in Lagos, where wealth speaks louder than words and power commands respect, there lived a princess whose beauty was admired across the land. Princess Chidera, the only daughter of the powerful chief Okonkwo. Many worthy men traveled from far and wide to seek her hand in marriage. But among them, one man stood out for a very different reasons. He was not rich. He had no title, and the people called him nothing more than a poor dreamer. His name was Obinna. One day, he did the unthinkable. He stood before the princess and asked for her hand in marriage. The entire palace burst into laughter. The princess looked at him with cold eyes and mocked him before the entire kingdom. But what nobody in Banana Island knew that day was that fate had already written different story, because the poor man they laughed at would soon become the man the entire kingdom would bow to. And the princess who rejected him would one day beg for his help. This is the story of pride, destiny, betrayal, and transformation. A story that proves one powerful truth: never mock the man whose future you cannot see. The sun was rising slowly over the glittering waters surrounding Banana Island in Lagos. The early morning light reflected beautifully against the tall glass buildings and luxurious mansions that stretched across the worldly neighborhood like a display of power and pride. Expensive cars rode smoothly through quiet streets, guarded by tall gates and uniformed security men. Every house looked like a palace. Every corner whispered wealth. But above all those magnificent homes stood the grand residence of one of the most powerful men in the island, Chief Okonkwo. His mansion stood proudly on a large piece of land near the water. It was not just a house. It was a kingdom within walls. Tall pillars decorated the entrance. Golden gates stood firmly at the front, guarded by security men dressed neatly in black suits. Exotic flowers decorated the wide driveway, and the air carried the sense of luxury. Inside the magnificent mansion lived the person many people spoke about across Lagos and even beyond, Princess Chidera. She was the only daughter of Chief Okonkwo, and her beauty had become something of a legend. Many said she was the most beautiful woman in Banana Island. Her skin glowed like polished bronze under the sunlight. Her eyes were sharp and proud. Her long black hair flowed like silk whenever she walked. But beauty was not the only thing people knew about her. Princess Chidera was also known for her pride. From a young age, she had grown up surrounded by wealth and admiration. Everywhere she went, people praised her beauty. Worldly men sent expensive gifts to her father's mansion. Foreign businessmen tried to gain her attention. Politicians smiled whenever she passed by. All these things slowly built something dangerous inside her heart: pride. She believed worth was the only thing that defined a man's value. And because of that belief, she often looked down on those who had nothing. That morning, the mansion was unusually lively. Workers moved around preparing for a special gathering. Large white tents were being set up in the garden. Chefs carried trays of food into the banquet hall. Musicians tested their instruments near the fountain. Chief Okonkwo was hosting an important event. It was a traditional gathering of wealthy artists and business partners who had come to discuss investments and alliances. But there was also another reason the gathering was important. Many rich families had been quietly hoping their sons would impress the princess. Inside the mansion, Princess Chidera stood before a large mirror in her room while two attendants helped her prepare her outfit. She wore a beautifully designed dress that blended modern fashion with traditional Igbo style. Aura beads decorated her neck and wrists, symbolizing royalty and prestige. Amanda sat nearby, watching her friend with admiration. Amanda had been Chidera's closest friend since childhood. Unlike Chidera, Amanda came from a less powerful family, but her loyalty had kept her close to the princess over the years. Amanda smiled. "Today will be interesting," she said playfully. Chidera glanced at her reflection and raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Amanda leaned forward slightly. You know what I mean. Half the rich men in Lagos are coming today. Some of them will definitely try to impress you again." Chidera gave a smile. Chidera gave a small laugh. They can try if they want, but most of them are boring." Amanda laughed softly. "You are too difficult to please." Chidera adjusted one of her coral beads. "Amanda, I will only marry a man who matches my status. Someone powerful, someone respected, someone who understands the world I belong to." Amanda nodded. "And definitely not a poor man." Chidera smiled coldly. "Never." Outside the mansion gates, far away from the polished cars and expensive perfumes of the wealthy guests, a young man stood quietly on the roadside. His name was Obinna. His clothes were simple, a neatly washed shirt and a pair of dark trousers. His shoes were clean but old. Anyone looking at him could immediately tell he was not from the world of Banana Island. But despite his simple appearance, there was something different about the way he stood, confident. His eyes carried determination. Standing beside him was his closest friend, Ekene. Ekene looked extremely nervous as he stared towards the large golden gates of Chief Okonkwo's mansion. "Obinna," Ekene said slowly, "I still think this is a bad idea." Obinna remained calm. "I've already made up my mind." Ekene rubbed his face in frustration. You want to walk into the house of one of the richest men in Lagos and ask his daughter to marry you?" Obinna nodded yes. Ekene sighed deeply. "My brother, people disappear for less trouble than this." Obinna looked towards the mansion gates again. I know who I am." Ekene shook his head. "The problem is, nobody else does." Obinna smiled slightly. "Then, today they will hear my name." Inside the mansion garden, the event had already begun. Worthy guests walked around, greeting one another. The sound of gentle high-life music filled the air. Waiters served drinks while groups of powerful men discussed business and politics. Chief Okonkwo stood proudly among them. "Welcome, important visitors." Princess Chidera eventually stepped into their garden. The moment she appeared, many heads turned. Some of the young men present adjusted their clothes immediately, hoping to catch her attention. Amanda walked beside her as they moved gracefully through the gathering. Not far from the entrance gate, a small commotion suddenly began. Security guards were arguing with someone. Guests turned their heads curiously. One of the guards spoke loudly, "You cannot enter here." But the young man standing before them did not move. It was Obinna. "I only want to speak with Princess Chidera," he said calmly. The guards laughed. "Do you even know where you are?" "Yes. This place is not for people like you." Obinna stood firm. "I understand, but I still wish to speak with her." Some of the guests nearby started watching the scene with amusement. Eventually, the noise caught the attention of Chief Okonkwo. He turned towards the gate. "What is happening there?" One of the guards quickly walked towards him, said, This young man is insisting he wants to speak with the princess." Chief Okonkwo frowned slightly. "Who is he?" The guards responded, "We do not know." By this time, Princess Chidera and Amanda had also noticed the situation. Curious whispers spread among the guests. "Who is that man? What does he want?" Chief Okonkwo waved his hand impatiently. "Let him come forward." The guards hesitated but eventually allowed Obinna to step into the garden. Every eye followed him as he walked slowly towards the center of the gathering. His simple clothes stood out painfully among the expensive suits and designer dresses. Some guests were already laughing quietly. Princess Chidera folded her arms. Amanda whispered beside her, "This should be interesting." Obinna finally stopped a few steps away from the princess. The entire garden became silent. Chief Okonkwo stared at him with a hard expression. "Young man," he said firmly, "where have you interrupted my gathering?" Obinna took a respectful breath. "My name is Obinna." He then looked directly at Princess Chidera. "I came here today to ask for the hand of Princess Chidera in marriage." For a moment, nobody moved. Then, suddenly, the entire gathering exploded with laughter. Loud laughter. Some guests nearly spilled their drinks. Amanda covered her mouth as she laughed. Even the musician stopped playing. Princess Chidera stared at Obinna as if she could not believe what she had just heard. Chief Okonkwo's face turned dark with anger. "You must be joking." But Obinna remained calm. "I'm not joking." Princess Chidera slowly stepped forward. She looked at him carefully from head to toe. Her eyes carried disbelief and then amusement. "You came here," she said slowly, "dressed like this, to ask me to marry you?" More laughter erupted from the guests. Obinna did not respond. Chidera shook her head and laughed openly. "This must be the funniest thing I have seen all these years." She turned to the crowd. "Did anyone invite a comedian today?" The guests laughed again. Amanda whispered loudly enough for others to hear. "Maybe he got lost while looking for a job." More laughter. But Obinna stood silently. Princess Chidera stepped even closer. Her eyes cold. "Listen carefully," she said. "A man who cannot even afford the shoes on my feet thinks he can marry me?" She gestured towards the luxurious mansion behind her. "Do you know where you are standing?" Obinna remained calm. "Yes." Chidera smiled mockingly. "Then you must also know that people like you do not belong here." Some guests clapped. Others laughed loudly. Obinna finally spoke again. Princess Chidera. Words can change. Obinna finally spoke again. Princess Chidera. Words can change. She burst into laughter. Oh really? Yes. Expression hardened. But poverty, like yours, really does. The crowd roared again. Chief Okonkwo stepped forward angrily. This nonsense has gone on long enough. He pointed towards the gate. Guards, remove him. Two security men grabbed Obinna's arms. Before they dragged him away, Princess Chidera spoke again loudly so everyone could hear. Next time you dream of marrying a princess, wake up first. The garden filled with laughter once again. Obinna looked at her one last time. But there was no anger in his eyes, only quiet determination. Then he spoke one final sentence. Princess Chidera, the future is a story nobody can read. She rolled her eyes. Take him away. The guards dragged him towards the gates. As the guests continued laughing, outside the mansion, Ekene rushed towards him. What happened? Obinna looked back towards the golden gates slowly cruising behind him. His voice was calm. One day you will remember this moment. Ekene looked confused. What do you mean? Obinna stared at the distant skylines of Banana Island. The story has only just begun, and somewhere deep within his heart, a destiny had already started moving. Outside the towering gates of Chief Okonkwo's mansion, the sound of laughter from the luxurious garden slowly fades behind Obinna and Ekene. The evening sun was beginning to sink towards the waters of Banana Island, painting the sky with shades of orange and gold. Expensive cars continued to move in and out of the rich neighborhood, their engines humming softly on the smooth roads. But for Obinna, the world felt strangely quiet. Ekene walked beside him, glancing nervously back at the golden gates that had just closed. "My brother," Ekene finally said, breaking the silence, "I still cannot believe you actually did it." Obinna kept walking slowly. "Yes," he replied calmly. "You walked into the house of the richest man in Banana Island and asked his daughter to marry you?" "Yes." Ekene shook his head repeatedly. "And he laughed at you in front of everyone." Obinna stopped walking. For a moment, he looked up at the glowing skylines of Lagos across the water. 4 buildings stood proudly in the distance, shining under the fading sunlight. "I expected that," he said quietly. Ekene looked confused. "You expected humiliation?" Obinna nodded slowly. "Yes." Ekene stared at him, trying to understand. "Then why did you go there?" Obinna smiled faintly. "Because some doors must close before destiny opens another." Ekene sighed. "You always speak in riddles." Obinna turned towards him. "My friend, remember this day?" Ekene frowned. "Why?" Obinna looked back towards the mansion once more. "Because one day, the people inside that house will remember it too." Ekene was about to ask another question when Obinna suddenly began walking again. This time faster. "Where are we going?" Ekene asked. Obinna did not slow down. "Home." But even as he said the word, there was something in his voice that sounded uncertain. At night, the celebration inside Chief Okonkwo's mansion continued for hours. Music played in the garden. Worthy guests laughed and told stories while expensive wine flowed freely. The story of the poor man who dared to propose to Princess Chidera quickly became the evening's favorite joke. Groups of men repeated the story again and again, each time adding more aggression. One businessman laughed loudly. "Did you see his shoes? I think even my driver dresses better." Another man shook his head. "The courage of poor people these days is unbelievable." Amanda sat beside Princess Chidera at one of the tables, still smiling about the incident. I've never seen anything so ridiculous, Amanda said. Chidera lifted her glass calmly. He embarrassed himself. Amanda leaned closer. But I must admit he was confident, Chidera said. Confidence without words is just foolishness, Amanda laughed. You destroyed him with that last statement. Chidera smiled slightly. People should know their place. Across the garden, Chief Okonkwo stood, speaking with several elders. One of them, Chief Okoro, had been quietly watching everything earlier. Unlike the others, he had not laughed. Chief Okonkwo was older than most men present. His grey beard gave him a wise and commanding appearance. Many people respected him because he had built his fortune through intelligence rather than inheritance. He turned to Chief Okonkwo. That young man, Obinna. Chief Okonkwo frowned. What about him? Chief Okoro spoke thoughtfully. He had courage. Chief Okonkwo scoffed. Courage without wisdom? Chief Okoro nodded slowly but said nothing more. But deep inside his mind, something about the young man had caught his attention. Meanwhile, far away from the shining lights of Banana Island, Obinna sat quietly outside the small house where he lived with Ekene. The house was simple and old, standing on a quiet street in a modest part of Lagos, where life was very different from the world of the wealthy. The night air was cool. Ekene watched him from the doorway. You have been sitting here for almost an hour, Ekene said. Obinna remained silent. Are you thinking about what happened today? Obinna finally spoke. No. Ekene raised an eyebrow. Then what are you thinking about? Obinna looked up at the night sky. The future. Ekene sighed again. My brother, today was a disaster. That princess insulted you in front of powerful people. Obinna nodded slowly. Yes. And you are sitting here smiling. Obinna turned towards him. Ekene, do you trust me? Ekene did not hesitate. Of course. Then listen carefully. Ekene stepped close up. What is it? Obinna's voice became serious. I will be leaving tomorrow. Ekene froze. Leaving? Yes. Leaving? So where? Obinna looked towards the distant lights of Lagos City. Anywhere that destiny leads. Ekene stared at him in shock. You are joking. I'm not. Ekene stepped forward urgently. You cannot just disappear. This is your home. Obinna stood up slowly. Sometimes a man must leave home to discover who he truly is. Ekene shook his head. This is because of what happened today, right? Obinna remained silent. Because the princess humiliated you? Obinna finally spoke again. No. Ekene looked confused. Then why? Obinna's eyes carried a quiet fire. Because today confirmed something I have always known. And what is that? That my story will not end in poverty. Ekene crossed his arms. Dreams are good, but life is difficult. Obinna smiled. Dreams are the beginning of destiny. Ekene remained quiet for a long moment. Will you come back? Obinna looked towards the dark sky. Again. Yes. When? Obinna's answer calmly slowly. When the time is right. Early the next morning, before sun rose, Obinna packed a small bag. Inside it were only a few clues, a notebook, and a photograph of his late parents. Ekene watched him quietly. You really are leaving? Ekene said. Obinna nodded. Yes. Ekene walked forward and hugged him tightly. You are my brother, he said softly. Obinna returned the hug. And you are mine. Ekene stepped back. Promise me something. What? No matter what happens, do not forget where you came from. Obinna smiled gently. I never will. A few minutes later, he began walking down the quiet street. the city was still sleeping. No one knew that the young man who had been mocked in the richest neighborhood in Lagos was leaving to begin a journey that would change everything. Weeks passed, then months, then years. Life continued in Banana Island as if nothing had happened. Princess Chidera remained one of the most admired women in Lagos. Worthy men continued to compete for her attention. Lavish parties and high society events filled her schedule, but she rejected every suitor. Amanda once asked her why. You have so many powerful men asking to marry you," Amanda said. "Why do you keep refusing them?" Chidera answered confidently. "Because none of them impressed me." Amanda laughed. "You are impossible." Meanwhile, Chief Okonkwo's influence in business continued to grow. But in the quiet corners of Lagos, whispers of new opportunities were beginning to circulate. New investors were entering Nigeria. Large business projects were being discussed across the country. And somewhere far away from Banana Island, Obinna was changing. He traveled to different cities. He studied business, technology, and trade. He worked difficult jobs, learning everything he could about the world of money and power. Years of struggle slowly transformed him. He met powerful mentors. He learned from his mistakes, and most importantly, he never forgot the day he stood in the garden of Chief Okonkwo's mansion and was laughed at by the entire elite of Banana Island. The memory became full. Meanwhile, back in Banana Island, Princess Chidera stood on the balcony of her father's mansion one evening, watching the sunset over the waters. Amanda joined her. "You look bored again," Amanda said. Chidera sighed. "Life here feels the same every day." Amanda smiled playfully. "Maybe you need some excitement." Chidera looked towards the distant skylines. Maybe. Neither of them knew that far beyond the horizon, the young man they once mocked was slowly becoming someone the world would soon recognize. And when destiny finally brought him back to Banana Island, nothing would ever be the same again. 5 years had passed. Banana Island had grown even more luxurious than before. New mansions had risen. Along the waterfront, private yachts floated gently beside expensive docks. International businessmen now moved through Lagos more frequently, attracted by the promise of new investments and powerful partnerships. But even in a place where world was normal, there were still moments that made people stop and stare. That morning was one of those moments. A convoy of sleek black vehicles rode slowly across the bridge leading into Banana Island. The cars were polished to perfection. Reflecting the bright Lagos sunlight like moving mirrors. Security vehicles led the convoy. Behind them followed two luxurious armored SUVs. Then came a long, elegant black car that looked like it belonged to royalty. Pedestrians stopped to watch. Even some residents paused their morning routines to look curiously at the vehicle. Inside the main car, a man sat quietly by the window. His suit was perfectly tailored. His watch was simple but clearly expensive. His posture carried the calm authority of someone who had learned the language of power. His name was Obinna, the same young man who had once stood at the golden gates of Chief Okonkwo's mansion, wearing worn shoes and simple clothes. But the man sitting in that car now was very different. Years of struggle, learning, and determination had transformed him. His face looked more mature. His eyes were sharper. Confidence surrounded him like an invisible shield. Across from him, sat a familiar face, Ekene. But even Ekene had changed. He now wore a professional suit, and his posture carried the discipline of someone who had been part of a long journey towards success. Ekene looked out the window, shaking his head in amazement. Banana Island still looks the same, he said. Obinna gave a small smile. Yes. Ekene looked at him. 5 years ago, we stood outside Bush gates with nothing. Obinna nodded calmly. And today, we are entering as invited guests. Ekene laughed softly. My brother destiny truly works in mysterious ways. The convoy finally turned towards a massive new building that had recently been completed near the waterfront. It was a modern corporate headquarters with glass walls that reflected the blue skies. A light sign stood proudly in front of the building. Obinna Group International. The employees and journalists were already gathered outside waiting. As the cars stopped, security men quickly stepped forward. One of them opened the door of the main vehicle. Obinna stepped out. Cameras flashed immediately. Journalists rushed towards, eager to capture the moments. Within 5 years, Obinna had become a name known across several industries: technology, real estate, energy. His company had grown rapidly, partnering with international investors and launching projects across Africa. But the most surprising announcement had come only a week earlier. Obinna Group International was establishing its new headquarters in Lagos, and specifically Banana Island. As Obinna walked towards the building's entrance, reporters shouted questions. Mr. Obinna, why did you choose Banana Island for your headquarters? Are you planning to invest more in Nigeria? Is it true that your company will employ thousands of Nigerians? Obinna stopped briefly and turned towards them. His voice was calm. Nigeria is my home. More cameras flashed. And Banana Island, he continued, is the perfect place to begin a new chapter. Inside the building, a large conference room had been prepared for a private meeting with some of Lagos' most powerful businessmen. Among the invited guests were several familiar names. One of them was Chief Okonkwo, the elder. The elderly businessman had heard about Obinna's rise over the years. He had quietly followed the young entrepreneur's success with great interest. Now he finally had the opportunity to meet him. As Obinna entered the conference room, Chief Okonkwo stood up slowly. The two men shook hands respectfully. So you are Obinna, Chief Okonkwo said thoughtfully. Yes, sir. Chief Okonkwo studied his face. You may not remember me. Obinna smiled slightly. I remember you very well. Chief Okonkwo raised an eyebrow. You do? Yes. Obinna's voice remained calm. You were at Chief Okonkwo's gathering 5 years ago. The older man nodded slowly. I was. He paused for a moment. And that day, I saw something in you. Obinna looked curious. What did you see? Chief Okonkwo smiled faintly. A man who was not afraid of humiliation. The room became quiet. That kind of courage, the elder continued, is rare. Obinna simply nodded. We were across Banana Island. Life inside Chief Okonkwo's mansion had also changed over the years. Princess Chidera stood once again on the balcony where she often watched the sunset. But something about her expression was different now. The confident pride she once carried so easily had been replaced by something quieter. Restlessness. Amanda walked out to join her. You have been standing here for almost an hour, Amanda said. Chidera sighed softly. I needed fresh air. Amanda leaned on the balcony rail. Did you hear the news? Chidera looked at her. What news? A new billionaire just moved his company headquarters to Banana Island. Chidera turned slightly. That is not unusual. Amanda shook her head. No, this one is different. Chidera raised an eyebrow. How? Amanda smiled. Apparently, he built his empire from nothing. Chidera turned back towards the water. Many businessmen say that. Amanda continued. But this one did but this one did it in just a few years. Chidera seemed mildly curious now. What is this? What is his name? Amanda tried to remember. Something like Ubi. Then suddenly, she snapped her fingers. Obinna. For a brief moment, the name hung quietly in the air. Chidera froze slowly. She turned towards Amanda. What did you say? Obinna, Amanda repeated casually. But the reaction she received surprised her. Chidera's face had changed. Her eyes widened slightly. That name, Amanda looked confused. What about it? Chidera said nothing for several seconds. Chidera said nothing for several seconds. A memory had suddenly returned to her mind. The garden, the laughter, the young man standing calmly while everyone mocked him. Amanda watched her closely. Wait, you are not thinking about that poor man from years ago, are you? Chidera forced a small laugh. Of course not. Amanda would. Good. Because this Obinna is apparently one of the richest new investors in Africa. Chidera's expression tightened slightly. That is impossible. Amanda raised her shoulders. That is what the news says. Later that evening, Chief Okonkwo sat in his study, reading business reports, when one of his assistants entered the room. Sir, the assistant said respectively, yes? There is a major investment conference tomorrow evening at the Grand Atlantic Hotel. Chief Okonkwo nodded. I know about it. Many of the most powerful investors in Lagos will attend. Chief Okonkwo closed his folder. Of course. The assistant hesitated. There is one guest in particular that everyone is talking about. Chief Okonkwo looked up. Who? Mr. Obinna. For a moment, Chief Okonkwo's expression darkened. The name sounds familiar. The assistant continued. He is the founder of Obinna Group International. His company has grown rapidly over the past 5 years. Chief Okonkwo leaned back in his chair. I see. The assistant added one more detail and said, he personally requested that you attend the conference. Chief Okonkwo frowned slightly. Where would he do that? The assistant shook his head. I don't know. Meanwhile, across the island, Obinna stood quietly in his new office overlooking the ocean. The city lights of Lagos sparkled beautifully in the distance. Ekene entered the room. Invitations have been sent, he said. Obinna nodded. Good. Ekene hesitated. You are certain you want Chief Okonkwo there? Obinna turned towards the window. Yes. Ekene crossed his arms. You know he will recognize you. Obinna's voice was calm. That is the point. Ekene looked thoughtful. And the princess? Obinna remained silent for a moment. Then he spoke slowly. Destiny has its own timing. Outside the building, the waves moved gently against the shore. Far away in the quiet halls of Chief Okonkwo's mansion, Princess Chidera sat alone in her room. For some reason, the name she had heard earlier refused to leave her mind. Obinna, she remembered the determination in his eyes. He remembered the final words he spoke before being dragged away. The future is a story nobody can read. She shook her head, trying to dismiss the memory, but deep inside her heart, a strange feeling had begun to grow. Because tomorrow night, Banana Island will witness a meeting that will change everything. The Grand Atlantic Hotel stood proudly beside the Lagos shorelines, its towering structure glowing beneath hundreds of golden lights. It was one of the most luxurious hotels in the city, a place where powerful businessmen, politicians, and international investors often gathered to shape deals that influenced the future of industries. That evening, The hotel ballroom had been transformed into a magnificent hall of elegance and power. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting soft light across polished marble floors. Large, round tables were arranged neatly across the room, decorated with fresh flowers and fine silverware. Gentle classical music flowed through the air while well-dressed guests moved around the hall, exchanging greetings. It was not an ordinary gathering. This was the Lagos Global Investment Summit, an exclusive event where the most influential people in the country met to discuss opportunities and partnerships. But tonight, one guest had captured more attention than anyone else. Obinna, the young entrepreneur who had risen from obscurity to become one of the fastest growing investors in Africa. Many people had heard his story, but very few had actually met him. And among those attending the summit were people whose lives had unknowingly crossed paths with him years earlier. Chief Okonkwo arrived at the hotel with his usual confidence. He stepped out of his car dressed in an expensive traditional Igbo outfit, his red cap sitting proudly on his head. Several business associates greeted him respectively. As he entered the building, behind him walked Princess Chidera and Amanda. Chidera looked stunning in an elegant evening gown that shimmered softly under the hotel lights. But despite her beauty, her expression carried a quiet tension. Amanda noticed it immediately. "You are unusually quiet tonight," Amanda whispered as they walked into the ballroom. Chidera forced a calm smile. "I'm fine." Amanda studied her face carefully. "Are you still thinking about that name we heard yesterday?" Chidera did not respond. Inside the ballroom, powerful guests continued to arrive. Chief Okoro was already seated near the front, speaking with a group of international investors. He glanced towards the entrance when he noticed Chief Okonkwo arriving with his daughter. The elder nodded politely. Chief Okonkwo returned the greeting and took his seat at one of the central tables. The room slowly filled with anticipation. Then, suddenly, the music softened. The master of ceremonies stepped onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced confidently, "thank you all for attending the Lagos Global Investment Summit." The audience applauded politely. "Tonight, we celebrate innovation, partnership, and the future of African enterprise." Another round of applause followed. But before we begin our discussion, we would like to welcome a special guest whose remarkable journey has inspired many across the continent. A large screen behind the stage suddenly lit up. Images began appearing one after another. Massive construction projects, technology facilities, solar energy farms, luxury real estate developments. The audience murmured with admiration as the projects flashed across the screen. Then the master of ceremony continued. "In just 5 years, this visionary entrepreneur has built a company that now operates across several countries." More images appeared. His company has created thousands of jobs, partnered with global investors, and introduced innovation projects that are shaping Africa's economic future. The room grew quiet with curiosity, and tonight he has chosen Lagos, and specifically Banana Island, as the new headquarters of his expanding empire. Several guests exchanged impressed glances. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the founder of Obinna Group International. He paused dramatically with the Obinna. The ballroom doors slowly opened. Every head in the room turned. Obinna stepped inside. The transformation was impossible to ignore. He walked confidently across the room in a perfectly tailored suit. His presence carried quiet authority, and his calm expression reflected years of discipline and success. Cameras flashed immediately. Guests whispered among themselves. Chief Okonkwo watched with mild interest at first. But then, something about the man's face caught his attention. He leaned forward slightly. Princess Chidera also stared towards the entrance. For a moment, her mind struggled to understand what was. The confident businessman walking towards the stage looked familiar. Too familiar. Obinna reached the stage and shook hands with the master of ceremonies before turning to face the audience. Applause filled the room, but at one table, silence had fallen. Chidera's heart was beating faster. Her eyes widened slowly. "No," she whispered softly. Amanda looked at her. "What is it?" Chidera's voice trembled slightly. "That man." Amanda turned back towards the stage again. "What about him?" Chidera swallowed. "That is him." Amanda frowned. "Who?" Chidera finally said the name, Obinna. Amanda stared at her in confusion. "What do you mean?" But before Chidera could respond, Obinna began speaking. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen." His voice was calm and steady. "I am honored to stand before so many distinguished leaders and investors." The audience listened carefully. "I grew up in Nigeria. Like many young people, I had dreams of building something meaningful." He paused briefly. "But dreams are often tested by life." Chidera could not take her eyes off him. The memory from 5 years ago returned vividly. The garden, the laughter, the humiliation. She felt a sudden tightness in her chest. On stage, Obinna continued speaking. "There was a time when many people believed I would never succeed." The room remained silent. "But sometimes, the greatest motivation comes from moments of rejection." Several guests nodded thoughtfully. "Those moments can either break a person or transform them." Obinna's eyes slowly moved across the audience, and then, for just one brief second, his gaze met Princess Chidera's. Her heart nearly stopped. Then, the look was calm, not angry, not bitter, just calm. Then he continued speaking as if nothing had happened. Chief Okonkwo finally leaned forward. One of his associates, Chief Okonkwo finally leaned towards one of his associates. "That man, yes?" He looked familiar. Meanwhile, Amanda had finally begun to understand. Her eyes widened in shock. "Wait, you mean?" Chidera nodded slowly. "Yes." Amanda covered her mouth. "That poor man from our father's gathering?" Chidera's voice was barely audible. "Yes." Amanda stared towards the stage in disbelief. "But how is this possible?" Chidera did not have an answer. On stage, Obinna concluded his speech. "The future belongs to those who refuse to let their circumstances define their destiny." The audience erupted into applause. But for Princess Chidera, the applause sounded distant, because in this moment, something inside her pride began to crack. The poor man she had once mocked in front of an entire gathering had returned as one of the most powerful men in the room. And as the applause continued, Obinna stepped down from the stage and began walking calmly through the crowd, straight towards the table where Chief Okonkwo and Princess Chidera were sitting. The fall of pride had only just begun. The applause faded in the Grand Atlantic Hotel ballroom. The applause in the Grand Atlantic Hotel ballroom slowly faded, but the tension in the air remained thick. Many guests were still discussing Obinna's speech in quiet admiration. Some businessmen were already eager to introduce themselves to the rising investor, but Obinna was not heading towards them. Instead, he walked calmly through the crowd with steady steps. Each movement carried quiet confidence. The room seemed to pat slightly as he passed, like the tide moving away from the shore. His destination was clear: the table where Chief Okonkwo, Princess Chidera, and Amanda sat. At that table, time felt strangely slow. Amanda leaned closer to Chidera and whispered more gently, "He's coming here." Chidera's fingers tightened slightly around the edge of the table. "I can see that." Amanda looked nervous now. "Does he recognize you?" Chidera swallowed softly. "I do not know." Chief Okonkwo, however, still had not fully understood the situation. He simply watched the approaching businessman with curiosity. As Obinna finally stopped beside their table, the surrounding guests fell silent. Some recognized the tension in the moment. Others simply sensed that something important was about to happen. Obinna stood calmly before them. For a brief moment, nobody spoke. Then he bowed his head slightly in respect. "Good evening, Chief Okonkwo." The older man nodded. "Good evening, Mr. Obinna." His eyes narrowed slightly. "Have we met before?" Obinna smiled faintly. "Yes, sir." Chief Okonkwo leaned forward. "I thought so. Your face seems familiar." There was a brief pause. Then Obinna spoke calmly. 5 years ago, I visited your home." Suddenly, the memory struck Chief Okonkwo like a flash of lightning. His eyes widened. "You?" Obinna nodded gently. "Yes." The older man leaned back slowly in his chair. "You are that young man?" "Yes, sir." Amanda watched the exchange in stunned silence. Princess Chidera felt a heartbeat growing louder in the ears. For the first time in many years, she felt uncertain. Chief Okonkwo cleared his throat. "Well, it seems life has treated you kindly since then." Obinna's expression remained calm. "Life has taught me many lessons." Chief Okonkwo studied him carefully. "And you invited me here tonight?" "Yes, sir." "Why?" Obinna looked at him respectfully. "Because 5 years ago, I made a promise to myself." The surrounding guests leaned closer, curious about the conversation. Chief Okonkwo frowned slightly. "What promise?" Obinna's voice remained steady. "That one day I would return, not with anger, but with success." There was a quiet murmur among the nearby listeners. Chief Okonkwo nodded slowly. "Well, it appears you have achieved that." Obinna then turned his attention towards Princess Chidera. Then, the moment felt heavy. For years, she had been admired and pursued by powerful men, but now, standing before the man she once mocked, she felt something unfamiliar: humility. Obinna spoke gently. "Good evening, Princess Chidera." Her voice was softer than usual. "Good evening." Amanda looked between them nervously. For several seconds, silence lingered. Then Chidera finally spoke again. "I remember that day." Obinna nodded. "So do I." She looked down briefly before raising her eyes again. "I spoke harshly." Obinna remained calm. "You spoke honestly about how you saw the world at the time." Chidera sighed quietly. "And today, the world looks different." Obinna did not respond immediately. Chief Okonkwo observed their interaction carefully. He finally leaned forward again. "Mr. Obinna, I must admit something." Obinna looked at him. "Yes, sir." "When you appeared at my gathering years ago, I believed you were foolish." Obinna smiled slightly. "That is understandable. But today, Chief Okonkwo continued, I see a man of vision. The older man paused thoughtfully. Your success is impressive. Obinna nodded politely. Thank you, sir. Chief Okonkwo looked at his daughter briefly, then back at Obinna. You once asked for Princess Chidera's hand in marriage. That room. The room grew quiet again. Amanda's eyes widened. Chidera looked stunned. Chief Okonkwo continued speaking. At that time, you had nothing, he paused. But today, you are clearly a man of great accomplishment. Obinna said nothing. Chief Okonkwo spoke slowly. If you still have interest in my daughter, I would consider your request again. The word shook everyone at the table. Amanda nearly gasped. Princess Chidera looked completely unprepared for the statement. Her father had never spoken so directly before. The surrounding guests listened closely, sensing the importance of the moment. Obinna remained silent for a few seconds. Then he took a calm breath. Chief Okonkwo, he said respectfully, I appreciate your words. The room waited for his answer, but I did not return to Banana Island seeking revenge or validation. Chief Okonkwo looked slightly confused. Then, where return? Obinna's voice remained peaceful. Because my journey was never about proving anyone wrong. He paused gently. It was about proving to myself that destiny can rise from any beginning. Chidera listened carefully, her eyes reflecting deep thoughts. Obinna continued, 5 years ago, I admired Princess Chidera. The princess felt her cheeks warm slightly. But admiration built on pride is not the foundation of a true future. The room remained silent. Obinna spoke softly now. Today I respect her honesty, even if it once hurt. Chidera lowered her eyes. However, he continued, my path was changed. Chief Okonkwo frowned slightly. What do you mean? Obinna smiled gently. Life has taken me in a different direction. Amanda leaned forward with curiosity. And what direction is that? Obinna looked around the room calmly. My focus now is building opportunities for others. He paused briefly. I plan to launch a foundation that will support young entrepreneurs who come from difficult backgrounds. The audience nearby began murmuring with interest. Many talented people never receive the chance to grow simply because they start with nothing. Obinna continued, I want to change that. Chief Okonkwo nodded slowly. That is a noble goal. Obinna then turned towards Princess Chidera again, and perhaps one day our paths may cross again in a different way. Chidera looked up at him. What way? Obinna smiled kindly. As partners in building something meaningful for society. The princess felt a surprising emotion rising with her. Respect. For the first time, she truly saw the man standing before her. Not the poor dreamer from years ago, but a man shaped by perseverance and wisdom. She spoke quietly. I misjudged you. Obinna nodded gently. Many people do. Chidera allowed herself a small smile, but destiny seems to enjoy surprises. Obinna laughed softly. That it does. Chief Okonkwo finally stood up. Mr. Obinna, regardless of the past, I would like us to build a strong business relationship. Obinna shook his head respectfully. I would welcome that. The surrounding guests began applauding, lightly impressed by the maturity of the exchange. Amanda leaned closer to Chidera and whispered, you realize something. Chidera looked at her. What? Then, the man you once rejected just became the most honorable man in the entire room. Chidera smiled faintly. Yes. She watched Obinna as he moved through the crowd again, greeting investors and leaders. The man she once mocked had not returned for revenge. He had returned with something far more powerful: character. As the evening continued, the ocean waves outside the Grand Atlantic Hotel moved gently under the moonlight, and somewhere within the quiet rhythm of those waves, the story of Obinna and Princess Chidera found its final meaning, because destiny does not punish pride with anger. Sometimes it simply teaches humility through time. Never mock someone because of their present condition. The future belongs to those who believe in their dreams, even when the world laughs at them. And sometimes the person you reject today may become the person the world respects tomorrow. If you love African folktale stories with moral lessons like this one, kindly go ahead and smash the subscribe button, turn on your bell notification icon, like the video and share this video with your friends. And then we'll see you in another story.